Getting service, so I thought I would hop on. We'll see if anybody's ready. Maybe you've all found something else to do since you can't have Marilyn. Somebody's watching. I'm here. We'll see if we gather a few people. Hi, Christine. I'm just going to latch the phone into the holder. Luckily, I had a project with me, so we can do some watercoloring. Hi, Muriel. Hi, Kim. Karen. It's been very quiet here today. I don't know what everybody's up to. I think it's a good day to be home crafting, waiting for rain. Thanks, Christine. I like it too. I haven't been doing very much, but it's fun to drag it out again. Because we got these new watercolor pencils, it inspired me to haul mine out again. Hi, Sylvia. So I was trying to think of several different things we could do with watercolor pencils. Hi there. I'm just doing a little video, so I'm not actually just talking to myself, but if you need any help, just let me know.
I watch your videos all the time.
Oh, so what I did was I dug out this stamp from, I think, last year, because it had large open areas. I stamped it in black, and then I did clear heat embossing. And I did have to stamp it a couple times because the watercolor paper does have some texture to it. But it stamped fine, and the clear embossing gives it a little bit of a border, so your watercolor doesn't go all into each other. And then I tried a few different techniques. You can see I didn't just color a sample. We're going to go through a few different ways that you can use the watercolor pencils. And I made some notes so I would remember all the different ways. So we'll just get started. I have different watercolor pencils, but I want you to, kind of dig around, see what you might have on hand. And if you need new supplies, we do have the Keller Creates watercolor pencils. And I also brought in these beautiful metallic watercolor pans. So I'll show some spatter with that later. So one of the first things I did was I moistened the paper, and I scribbled with watercolor pencil on a scrap paper, and then I picked color up from there. So let's do some of that. I've got a watercolor brush, and there's a little tiny bit of water in there, so I'm just going to wet a portion of a petal here. Oh, and you can see my brush is dirty. I think I've got gold paint on there. Let's clean that up. I just want to get this area a little bit damp in here. Now I think I've got it a little too wet. I just always like to have a paper towel on hand, so I've just lifted off some water so it's not dripping wet there. And what I'm doing is to get some color without going straight to there. I'm just making myself a little color patch here and picking it up on the brush. So I can just come in here now and drop in the color where I want it to be darkest. So I'm going to stop now and let that dry, and then I can see if I want to add any more. And because of the heat embossing, it's not going to bleed out into other areas. So that's one of the first ways you can use watercolor pencils. So that was this one. So over here what I did was I colored with a few colors of pencil and then blended them together. So I think I went in first with a darker color where I wanted dark areas. And then went to a slightly different color. And then a paler one out by the edge of the petal. I didn't take a ton of time to pick these colors. I just sort of pluck them out like the pinky kind of poinsettias that you sometimes see at Christmas. But I do want to get a nice dark color along here, so let's see how that goes for us. And so now we want to kind of get rid of the pencil marks and blend the colors. And when I want to clean the brush off, I just have paper towel here so I don't just get all the colors mixing into one color. I am no pro at this, but what I have found is don't mess with it too much. So I'm going to try to leave that now and let the colors kind of do some mixing of their own with the water. And kind of the simplest way to do this, and what I've started up here, is just color in where you want the darkest color to be and then spread that color with the water brush. Now that's looking paler than I would like. So there is another trick you can do with this that's pretty cool. You can take color straight from the tip of the pencil onto your brush, load it up like that. So then you can drop into your dark or into your wet areas like that. So that's kind of nice how that's wicking out like that. I love that. So now if I leave that and let it dry naturally, it'll have that irregular edge. I'm just going to pop up and see if there's any questions or anything going on. Good. Yeah, hi guys. So it's really just practice like this, stamp some easy shapes, and then get in there and play, because it's a lot of fun. And as you see, it's just, you know, try some different ways of getting paint onto the paper. So this one here, it's a little shimmery because I had that gold in my brush. But another great way, if you don't have watercolor pencils, just think, what else do I have that's watercolor? So another thing that I put color down with is dye ink. So let's get another petal wet here. Get some ink down just on a craft sheet or a piece of acetate or packaging or whatever you have. Your glass media mat is great for this. Pick up some color and then just drop it in. You can see it move along where the water is. If you get kind of too much at some point, just get a corner of your paper towel and pick it up. So that helps too if you get outside the line. Sometimes you can pick it up with clean water and push it and kind of erase some mistakes. So I really quite like that red. This color's called Berrylicious. So I'm going to do this neighboring petal too. How's that? It's very hard for me to resist coloring completely in, but one of the nice things that I always admire about watercolors when I see them is when it's watercolorish looking, and you know, then I look at mine and it looks all flat in one color. So as I said, it's nice to try to not mess around too much with this stuff. So I do have another one that I might, you know, we might take some time and fill one in, but I just want to show you this bit of spatter here. So this pan of colors, I want to show you what it looks like opened up. So it's got these large pans of color with different golds, right down to white gold, which is like silverish. So what I did, I've got a little bit of spatter along here. I just moistened this one of the panels up with some water. Today I think I will pick one at the end here. You just give it a little moisture to soften it up. I found my water brush wasn't a good one to really get enough paint on it. So what I'm going to do is just get a little piece of water, a little puddle of water over here, and try and add some paint in. There we go. And then you flick. Hopefully that's on screen there. You get these nice little drops of color on top of my little watercolor notes. Have you found a few things there? Yeah. So I'll let you guys look at this. I'm just going to be away for a second. I'm back. So let's take this one and we'll do a little coloring, a little painting. So maybe I'll take this off. I'm going to get it. How should I do this? Still have a little water in here. So let's just do a few petals on this big one. So I'm going to just moisten a couple of petals, and then we'll drop in some of this. I'm going to add a little bit of water with the mini mister. We do have mini misters in stock. Now if I'm ever worried that my brush is too wet or that my paper's getting too wet, I've got my paper towel ready. So now would be a good time for me to have a second brush just to lay the plain water in with. Let's see if I can clean this one up a little bit. Okay. So now I'm just going to go to a petal that's not right beside those others. I should be okay because I have the embossing, but just to avert disaster, I'll come over here. So I'm just kind of dabbing. I'm not really, stroking color in all the way across the petal or anything. Just kind of dabbing it, and then I'm going to hope that the water's going to do some work and draw it into the rest of the petal. I can have a look afterwards and see if I want to add anything anywhere. Probably sticking my sleeve into my water puddle here. This is where I should be playing some, relaxing Christmas music while you watch me color, right? Another good idea for watercolor is to tape the paper down to a board, which of course I have not done here, but it helps keep it from curling. And you'll also notice I am turning it so that I can get the angle that I would like to have for applying my paint. There's no rule that says you always have to be facing the top of your work. You can turn it so that it's easy to get to the spots you want to get at. I want to get a little more color in here. There, I love it when it does those lines like that. I'm going to try and leave that alone. So you can see it moves along fairly quickly. I don't think I got much moisture up over here because it doesn't seem to be moving. I think there is one more petal there and one more petal here for this big flower. So the only thing that's standing out to me is I've got quite a white tip right here. So I think I would like to put just a little something in there. So I'm going to water down some red a little bit and just dab a little bit in there. And then I would like to just wipe this off and see what we can do for some green. So to clear my water brush, I'm just squeezing some water through, and I'm hoping to get the brush to show me much clearer water coming through the bristles. I think I'm just about there. That's probably good enough right there. And I'm going to get rid of that one now. I do have a clean paper towel here. I'll give this a little shot, and I'm going to grab my green inks, and I think I will go with this one called Olive. And we'll just try on this big flower. We'll do the leaves just to see how a finished flower will look. So I got a tiny bit into my petal there. You know what, I'm not going to touch it because my red is still wet and I don't want to disturb it. If I'm really bothered by it later, I can maybe use a white gel pen to cover it, but I have a feeling it's not going to be the end of the world. And the white gel pen might be too white for this paper. This is Tim Holtz watercolor paper, which is a nice white paper. A lot of watercolor paper is more of sort of a bone color, which doesn't really terribly bother me. Usually if I'm making a card, I mat it onto a cardstock color before I place it on a card base, so it kind of breaks up the color mismatch if it's on a white card. And there we go. Oh, one more thing. I think it's safe if we want to put some gold in the middle. I'm just going to wipe this up. No, I'm not, because I think after the video I might finish it off. I'm just going to get right into this gold. That in there. There we go. Let's see what you've got to say here. Oh, we got a few more people. That's great. And I'm hoping I've got it under the right thing. I carefully signed into Scrapbookers today. Christine uses an old small cutting board. That's what I do too. I've got some from Germany, and they're like made from the stuff you make dishes for the patio out of, like that kind of plastic, melamine or something. So yeah, there's a little watercolor with ink cubes, and here's the practice one I did showing different techniques with watercolor pencils. So you can scribble pencils onto a paper and make your own little watercolor palette, or you can color onto your design and spread it out with water, and you can even color several colors and then mix them into each other, and it gets rid of all your pencil lines. So I hope that gave you a few tips for watercoloring, and we'll say hi to Marilyn out at the lake with poor internet today. It's probably poor cell service. That's what I think she runs on out there. It's probably because of all the clouds, but she gets a relaxing afternoon with no video. So hi to everybody, and I hope you have a good afternoon. And we'll see you again on Tuesday. Bye, everybody.